Hello guys, and welcome to Foxy Diana Adventures. I know you guys have been waiting for this review of Carmen Sandiego for quite a long time, and I apologize for the wait. Just a lot of stuff had been happening, and I had to plan for Las Cruces Game Convention as well as other events. So, that's why I was kind of on a temporary hiatus. Anyway, with that said, let's get started. So, I like to begin with the character Carmen Sandiego. There's a big change in her because before, in the old series from the 90s, in the cartoon, both games, and also the actual game series that was on PBS, she was definitely a lady thief. But now she's taking more of a rebel position and being more like a Robin Hood. Now, something to keep in mind is there are 3 names she goes by in the new series: Red, Carmen, and Black Sheep. So those are the 3 names she typically goes by, so when you hear them in the series, they're referring to her. She's also a lot younger. Instead of being a young woman, she's actually a young, well, maybe she's still like a young woman, I suppose, but she's not as old. Like, I always pictured Carmen Sandiego more like in her late 20s, early 30s in the 90s, but now she doesn't have the vibe where she's probably between the ages of 18 and 22, I'd say. Maybe even 18 to 25, but it's definitely a shift in age. But yeah, she's definitely changed a lot. So we're going to go on to her accomplice, Player. In the old series, we didn't necessarily have someone helping her, but now we do. Player is her hacker. He's the one who gets her into all of the knickknacks. He's also the one who gave her the nickname Red. It's kind of interesting how they met, too. They met on accident, and they kind of just started phone conversationing each other while she was at Vile. Also interesting fact, going back to Carmen, is that she was adopted by Vile because one of the Vile members saved her instead of making a Vile. Like in the old ones, she was the founder of Vile. That has changed. So now we go on to Ivy and Zach. The reason I'm going to put them together is they're siblings, and they are the 2 that are always helping Carmen Sandiego on all her heist. Again, she's more like a Robin Hood now because she's going to return these items to the original owners or where she believes they belong. Now, going on to Acme. Acme has a lot of members, but we are only really familiarized with 3 of them. The Chief, who is actually based off of the Chief that we are familiar with in the 90s. Like, her look and her voice are just very similar, dead on. So, that leaves us to our second member, Chase. He is probably Carmen's biggest antagonist, which is funny because he works for the law and he's a good guy and he catches bad guys. But in this case, he does not realize what Carmen is doing and never really sees the light of her and just like, no, I'm going to arrest you, you stole this, and that's final. So he only looks at one side of it. Now, the Chief believes that he'd be really good on catching the people of Vile. She doesn't really care too much to catch Carmen, but she just believes Carmen will lead them to Vile. Now, is Julia. Julia is Chase's assistant. Julia is smart. She can kind of tell that Carmen is doing all this for a reason instead of just being a thief. Now, with Acme taken care of, let's get to the members of Vile, at least some of them. Vile is a huge secret organization full of villains, and they also have a school, which again, Carmen Sandiego was raised from. So we will start with Professor Gunner, who is a member of the head facility of Vile and teaching psychological manipulation. And it has changed definitely from the 1990s series. Now we have Coach Burnett. She continued to keep her really tough throatness because in the games she's actually really bulky, and she still is. Except it's now like in a mama bear way instead of like a pro wrestler way, like I'm going to choke you to death. No, she still will choke you to death if she doesn't like you, because it's actually proven that when she finds out that Carmen Sandiego has betrayed Vile and will not go back to Vile, she shuts off that mother bear switch and she turns on that kill switch, and she's like, I'm going to destroy you, I'm not going to let you destroy everything we have created. But she does have that mama bear with most of the members of Vile because she cares a lot about her students. Now, this leads us to Shadow-san, who, ironically enough, is the original person who rescued Carmen Sandiego. Warning, spoilers. So Shadow-san rescued Carmen Sandiego as a baby and had Vile raise him. A lot of people in the series, including Carmen herself, actually thought it was Coach Burnett who had rescued Carmen, which is not the case. It is actually Shadow-san, and Shadow-san is a samurai. I found it kind of weird that he was on the Vile side. I was like, samurais are honorable and noble, unless, of course, they are a ninja, and that is a different story. Ninjas can be thieves. No, this is not stereotyping anything. It's just like when you think of these things in your head, you know, you think Rurouni Kenshin, samurai, hero. You don't think creepy, evil assassin samurai. Could be both, but, you know, again, stereotype. You normally see. But that kind of gave Shadow-san away that he wasn't going to be so villainous. And then also the fact that he made Carmen Sandiego purposely fail her test. It's like he didn't want Carmen to become a member of Vile. And at Vile, they actually call Carmen the Black Sheep, which kind of is a foreshadowing that she's not going to quite fit in to Vile. Now, the other thing is Shadow-san later does save Carmen from Coach, because Coach actually does attempt to kill Carmen after she finds out Carmen's betrayed. But Shadow-san knocks her out and saves Carmen. Now this leaves us to Dr. Belmore, the mad scientist. This is probably the least of my least favorite character of all the characters in it. I do not like the fact that she uses science to erase people's memories and brainwash them, because those are two of my biggest fears. You do not mess with my memories, and you do not brainwash me. So that is kind of why I do not like Bellum at all. So then we have Countess Chloe, who I originally thought was British, but is Egyptian, and she's very classy. Then we have Dash Harper, who is the Countess' personal assistant. He will play a minor role in all of this. Then we have Gray or Crackle Graham. He is kind of like an older brother to Carmen, but I also see him kind of as a love interest. There is definitely some tension when she fails Vile and she rebels against Vile towards him and her. But even then, it's kind of like, do we really want to kill each other? Sadly, though, he ends up getting his memories erased when he fails to capture Carmen. And this is a fresh start for him. He's actually working in a theater business at this time. And there's still chemistry between them even without his memories. Like, he instantly has the connection to Carmen. He finds her beautiful and attractive, which is why I totally think those two would make a great love interest. I'm hoping they bring him back in season 2. I do not want it to be the end of those two. I do not. Anyway, with that said, yes, I'm kind of a romance loser. Carmen decides that she's not going to pursue him. She's going to let him go because she doesn't want Vile to ruin his new life that he's founded. And then we have the Cookie Booker. This is Vile's bookkeeper. Now, we have the Paper Star. Paper Star is quite interesting, and she uses origami for her attacks. I loved her to death. She's probably the best rival Carmen has in this whole series that can actually take her down. That or Tigress, who we will lead into next. Now, leading into Tigress. She has the cat suit, she has a mask, very Tigress. I love how she's drawn. Out of all the characters, she's probably my favorite drawn character. Not personality-wise or attack-wise, but drawing-wise, definitely A+. Now, with that said, Tigress is very cat-like. She's kind of your standard cat burglar. And then we have El Topo, and we're going to do these two together because they're like partners in crime. El Topo and Le Chevy. We have the Spanish spy and the French spy. So, El Topo and Le Chevy. From there, we have the Mime Bomb. The Mime Bomb, he is so quiet because he's a mime. He doesn't talk. He uses hand movements for everything. I found it interesting that a mime be a spy/thief, but you know, it's fine. It works. So, that covers all of the characters. Now, I know there wasn't a lot of compare and contrast in here, which you guys were probably hoping for. The reason I didn't want to compare and contrast as much is that the series has a lot to offer. In my opinion, it should be its own being and its own beast, because it's definitely made for a newer generation. It's not to say that we people who saw it in the 90s or used to play the old video games wouldn't like it, but it definitely has its own flair and finesse to it. Carmen kept her classical look, but she also, in some of the drawings, have a more modern look, and it's beautiful all through and through. I really think you guys should give the series a chance. I'm definitely going to watch season 2. Now, I don't want to dive into the episodes because I don't want to spoil it more than I already have. So definitely take a peek, watch it, and decide for yourself if it's for you. And don't forget to like and subscribe my channel if you're watching it on YouTube. If you're watching it on Facebook, well, like it, I guess. Anyway, your donations are... Now, before I tune out of Foxy Dan Adventures, remember your donations are greatly appreciated, whether it's through PayPal, Ko-fi, or Patreon. I love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye. Till next time.